As you guys know, as a content creator, I do try my best to read and respond to most comments, and I say I do a pretty good job at that. Now, one thing I've noticed is that a lot of people have been wanting to see not only the types of Pokemon I'm running, like they want to see the IV, the EV spreads, the movesets, all of that, but they've asked a lot of questions regarding team building guides, rating teams, all that stuff. I've even seen a couple of people asking me like where you get specific moves or specific Pokemon and all of that. So I figured that it would benefit for me to make a video covering all of those different things. Now, of course, I probably will update this sometime in the future, but I did want to get something out to satisfy those people that have been looking for those teams, and also so that I don't have to keep responding to comments, because it does get annoying after a while having to copy and paste all the information down. So I do hope that you guys enjoyed this video. So first things first, I'm going to start with my team building guide. So first off, a lot of people ask, like, how do you structure a team? So I do actually have some tips here, which I'm going to read off to you guys. So first off, you always want to make sure you have a special attacker and a physical attacker, or at least that's what I like to do, because you know there are going to be times where you'd want to have both. Like for example, let's say your opponent has a Chansey and your two attackers are special. That's going to be really problematic. Or let's say your opponent has a lot of like Will-O-Wisp Pokemon or a lot of really physically defensive Pokemon. You're typically going to want to have a special attacker available for that. So that's why I always like to just, you know, have one of each. It's always a safe practice. So my second tip is to always at least have two offensive Pokemon, because you know you don't want to. Now you can run a fully defensive team if you want to. There are of course stall teams, but in my opinion it's just better to have two offensive Pokemon, especially in the Big Bronze meta, because even if you're there to win, if you're using a fully defensive team, it's just going to be more boring, and it's going to make games last forever. So having at least two offensive Pokemon is typically what I recommend for most people trying to participate in the PvP scene. And next, I'd also recommend you have two defensive Pokemon as well. And if you can, get one that's specially defensive and one that's physically defensive, because you want to have, you know, a good, reliable check for both. Now, really, if you guys want a simple answer, Chansey is an excellent specially defensive Pokemon. Now, I'm not going to go out there and say, go ahead and get one. I don't want to be the one, you know, influencing it, but that's just like an example of a reliable, especially defensive Pokemon. So it can basically come in almost any special attacker in the game, and then you can invest the rest of your defensive Pokemon on the physical side. So, you know, for physically defensive Pokemon, I like Tangrowth a lot, because it can basically come in most Pokemon that don't have any super effective attacks against it, and it can even take super effective attacks pretty well because it's just that bulky. So, I mean, that's what I'm talking about with two defensive Pokemon. So the next thing I recommend is always making a team that has really good synergy. For example, I like running Tangrowth and Toxapex together, because Toxapex has that glaring weakness to the ground type, and Tangrowth can come in pretty easily. Same thing with the electric type. Tangrowth can come in and, you know, take those hits pretty well. Even the grass type, which isn't super effective, but a lot of people like using those moves against Toxapex. So Tangrowth can come in pretty good, and then, you know, it works vice versa too. With the poison type attacks, Toxapex can come in. The fire type attacks, Toxapex once again can come in. The bug type attacks, Toxapex can come in. The ice type attacks, Toxapex can come in. I mean, the only thing that Toxapex does not come in on is the flying type. So, I mean, you can see that those two Pokemon have excellent synergy together. Now, another really good, you know, pairing is Chansey and Mega Sableye. I mean, you know, Sableye's only weakness is really to the fairy type, and most fairy type Pokemon are going to be special attackers. So Chansey comes in really good, and Chansey's main weakness is the fighting type, or even to the sense the ghost type, which Sableye can cover really well. And another example is Chandelure and Scizor. Scizor has a huge issue with fire types, and Chandelure has Flash Fire. You can even use Heatran or any Flash Fire Pokemon, and they can come in on any fire type attacks and actually, you know, get benefit from that, because they're going to have a boost in their fire type attacks after that. In addition, Scizor, you know, covers Chandelure decently well too with the rock type attacks that you'll commonly see. And, you know, just, I mean, it's not the ultimate, like, you know, synergy, but Chandelure really helps out Scizor, if that makes sense. And then, like, another core I like to run is Tangrowth, Milotic, and Excadrill. I mean, I don't feel like having to explain all of that, but, you know, like, there are plenty of different, like, you know, Pokemon that have synergy. It's kind of just up to you to figure that out and for you to start out. So anyways, the next thing I recommend is getting utility. That's basically an essential in some cases. So for example, you could get entry hazard Pokemon like Skarmory with spikes, Excadrill with Stud Rock, Chansey gets Stud Rock too. You can even get Toxapex with toxic spikes, or Galvantula with Sticky Web, or even like the definitive entry hazard Pokemon that gets Sticky Web and Stud Rock, I'm pretty sure is Shuckle, so that's there. And the next thing you could also invest in is entry hazard removal. Oftentimes you can get both, or you can just get one, but it's pretty important. Either you want to be into entry hazards, either you want to be shutting it down, or you don't want to do both. Now, the entry hazard removal, if you want to keep your own entry hazards up, Rapid Spin is a great check or a great move that Excadrill can get. Or there are a couple of Pokemon, like Starmie also gets Rapid Spin. You could also go for a Defogger, and a lot of the flying types in Pokemon Break Bronze are compatible for that, like Mandibuzz, Togekiss, I'm pretty sure even Skarmory. Now the problem with Defog is that it's going to shut down your own entry hazard as well. It's going to clear the whole battlefield. So I would only really recommend that if you're not running an entry hazard Pokemon yourself and you're just trying to invest into entry hazard removal. Another important thing that you can invest into is status healing. Aromatherapy and Healing Bell are two excellent moves that you can get access to in a lot of Pokemon, like Chansey for example. Togekiss is the one that I'm running right now. You can even run Florges with that type of stuff. There are plenty of options. Once again, you have to do your own research to figure this out. And the last thing you can invest into is Wish, that I just thought of. You could also go for screens and all of that. Like I like Wish because you can keep your Pokemon at a good amount of HP. But there are screens. There's all types of utility you can invest into. Even weather is one thing you can consider. But those are just the basic things I recommend you look into. Now, almost an essential in the Break Bronze meta is speed control, or in the way it's actually defined is priority moves. And for me, I use Sizer with Bullet Punch, or I use Absol with Sucker Punch. You can even run Ice Shard. There are plenty of different priority moves. Even Lycanroc gets a Cellar, which is a really good rock type priority move that will help you a lot against Pokemon like Charizard or Volcarona. So that's that. I definitely recommend you invest into it because having good priority can really save you a lot of times. And even just against Pokemon that are really fast, they're typically really frail, so you can finish them off with priority. Like Sizer and Bullet Punch is incredibly useful for my teams. I can just rely on it to keep me safe from any really fast offensive Pokemon. Now, one more thing you can invest into is sweep control. Like I that's how I've heard it, but in other words, like moves like Haze, Clear Smog, Rock Tomb, like Haze will come in and basically shut down or reverse the effects of like any setup sweepers like Aegis Slash or Mimikyu with Swords Dance. If you go into Toxapex and go for a Haze, that will basically invalidate that. So that's really good to have against like setup sweepers, which are incredibly common in Pokemon Break Bronze. Clear Smog is another one that's not really seen as common. I mean, like, I think Amoonguss learns that, but you don't really see it every day. And Rock Tomb is one I recently discovered with Tangrowth. A Pokemon like Gliscor will get shut down if it doesn't have its speed. So you can just go for Rock Tomb multiple times and, drop its speed. So that's one thing you can, of course, invest into if you need to. I would also recommend 100% you want to get your own sweepers or wall breakers in Pokemon Break Bronze. Like, you don't know how far that will actually take you. Like, for me, I like to run Volcarona and sometimes, Dragonite. Those are just really good. Like, even Chandelure, for example. Because that's just one way you can break through tanks. And it's pretty useful overall for late game cleaning and all of that. So when I actually build my teams, I love to use a website known as Smogon. And Smogon basically will show you the most used, or like the meta setup for a Pokemon in the PvP scene. And you can like cycle through the different generations. Typically you're going to use Pokemon X and Y or Pokemon Sun and Moon. Probably Sun and Moon for Pokemon Break Bronze. It kind of just depends on the remake and all that. So anyways though, Smogon will give you like the details of like the moves that most people run on said Pokemon, the nature, the EVs, all of that. So it's really good for that type of stuff. Now, I like to follow it for a lot of my Pokemon, like Sizer basically is based off the Smogon moveset. Now, there are some exceptions, like my Tangrowth, which runs Rock Tomb rather than the typical moveset. And for me, I prioritize Rock Tomb because it gives me really good utility and it's just really helpful for my team. Like I struggle with Pokemon like Glasgow, so with Tangrowth and Rock Tomb, I can basically lower its speed to where it's not going to be as effective of a Pokemon. And then with like let's just say Mega Glalie, I ran Body Slam rather than Double Edge because I preferred the chance to paralyze on the switch. I just found it to just be more effective for my team setup. So there is some Pokemon that I kind of like variate depending on the meta and depending on what my team needs. So I will also recommend you should definitely check out subreddits, or just like you should look things up, like what Pokemon synergize well, or like what are some good teams if you don't even have inspiration, you just want something that you can base yourself off of, and those will definitely help out. So just takeaways are, just make sure you get a team that synergizes well and that covers its weaknesses. That's something that you'll figure out the more you battle. And make sure you get priority or some sort of way to shut down sweeps, because in the Brick Bronze meta, sweeping is such a big thing, so having a way to shut it down is going to take you a long way. Now in this segment of the video, I'm going to answer some commonly asked questions. So a lot of people like to ask in the comment section, how do you get a certain move? So the first thing I'm going to tell you to do is make sure you check the move relearner, check the move tutor, and check the TMs that are available in the game. And let's say you can't find it through those means, then the next thing I recommend is check the Bulbapedia or PokemonDatabase.com to see said Pokemon and all the moves that they learn and how they learn them. And let's say your Pokemon needs to breed for a specific move, it actually is kind enough to show you all the compatible parents for breeding. That way it makes your process a lot more quicker. And let's say you don't know the locations of said Pokemon, like let's say Wallbeats in this case that you need to have to learn Moonlight, then you can look up the locations of the Pokemon on the Pokemon Brick Bronze fandom or Wikipedia site. So typically I look up appendix, and then I look up the type of the Pokemon I'm looking for. So Wallbeat's a bug type, so I look up appendix bug Pokemon Brick Bronze, and it'll send you a link where you can click it, and it'll show you the location of all the bug types in Pokemon Brick Bronze. So that'll speed up the process. Now some games have the locations varied, so you can ask the people in your server for advice on that, although I can't really do too much about that. Typically they have like a slideshow or something showing you all the locations. Now if you're looking for EV, IV, or competitive breeding, or any of that type of training, there are a lot of tutorials on YouTube or Google that you can find yourself. Now one thing I would recommend is, if you're training, you can always look up the training hotspots in Pokemon Brick Bronze to see the best places to EV train. Now if you don't know how to breed and you want to learn that to get the best competitive Pokemon, there are plenty of breeding guides out there on YouTube which I'd recommend you check out. Let's say that a move isn't breedable, it isn't relearnable, it isn't available in the move tutor, and it isn't in the TMs. There is a good chance that some games don't even let you get the correct move that you're looking for. Like in my Corona, I couldn't find all the moves I wanted, so I did eventually scrap it in this specific game. Now some games are different, they'll have all the moves available. It kind of depends on the game, but that is one thing. So if that's the case, then you can't really do too much, but do keep in mind that can happen sometimes. Now a lot of the PvP items are also available in the shop if you don't know where to find them. Not many people have asked about that, but I did want to put that out there in case. Now there are some specific items like leftovers and the black sludge, which are found in the actual in-game map. Like in the Antanian series, you find the black sludge, and in the Grove of Dreams, in one of the houses, you can find the leftovers item. So you make sure you keep out an eye for that. Now another question a lot of people ask is rate my team. Now I can't do this, but ideally, first, if you're gonna say rate my team, actually put in the team. Like don't just say rate my team and then leave nothing for me to rate. Like please actually include your team when you say that. But really the best way for me to rate your team is if I actually battle it in the Coliseum. That way I can see like what your strengths are, your weaknesses, and I can give you some advice. I can tell you what I like, stuff like that. So if you don't know how to battle me, what I recommend is either join my Discord server or join the Bronze Legends Discord server, which I should have linked in the description below. That way you can DM me and we can work something out. Now, truth be told, I'm not always perfect with, you know, scheduling, because you have to consider I'm a busy guy. I'm a high school student, so I can't get things perfectly on time. But if you remind me and you're persistent about it, we can definitely work things out. And most of the time I am able to battle people, and sometimes I even just go into the Battle Coliseum, and if you encounter me there, that's great, because then we can have a battle. Most of the time when I'm there to battle and get some content. So I mean, you can ask all these questions. I really don't mind too much, but it's just ideally like for some of the Pokemon I had, instead of going through the move tutor and all of that, I had a move command where I could just say, give this Pokemon all 4 of these moves, and then it would just instantly give the Pokemon those moves. And it would make the process so much easier. So I can't, it's an inconvenience for me to have to answer those questions every time. The last part of this video is just going to be me showing off all the current sets I have on all the PvP Pokemon that I've used in the past, and some that I haven't used. And I consider that not all of these sets are perfect or any of that. It's just what I've been running, and they're not all of them are the sets I like. Like with my Mega Sableye, I actually prefer having defense rather than special defense, but in this specific case I have a specially defensive one. I guess because I was just trying to get the setup done quickly so I could use it in videos. But I do hope that you guys found this guide helpful once again, because it did take me a long time to make this, but I hope that this answers a lot of questions, because I did agree I would make this video once I hit 1,000 subscribers. So this is kind of like a 1,000 subscriber special right here. And you can see like there's some Pokemon, like I said earlier, like Shaman for example, that I haven't really brought out yet. So I did want to set one up, but like, you know, I did abandon the project because I couldn't get the right moves that I needed. But you know, there's some other ones like X-Ply, which I did get the right moves, but it just didn't turn out to be that great, so I decided to swap it out. Now, you know, and a lot of these Pokemon are pretty interesting. Like I probably will bring a couple of them back in the future, like Heliolisk, because I really did enjoy using it when I did get that chance. Although I haven't really found a good place to fit it in on my teams, because like for my teams I really need something that can really contribute a lot. Like that's why I picked some pretty meaningful Pokemon. Like you can see right now on my team that I have currently in the left, you can see I have a Pokemon for every purpose, like Snorlax especially defensively, Tangrowth defensively, I have Toxapex to shut down sweeps, I have Sizer for priority, I have Absol as my Mega and my Wall Breaker, and then I have Togekiss for utility. So you can see like I do have it kind of spread out. Now of course my team isn't perfect, and I haven't really worked on getting a perfect team. What I like to do is just switch things around and just try different Pokemon. So I mean, you know, that's kind of my priority, more so to have fun rather than to get the ultimate competitive, no way to lose type of team. So I guess now I'll leave you guys to enjoy the rest of these teams.
Out for a piece of scrap metal.